The alarm sounds filled the giant crystal halls of the space station. Red lights flashed everywhere as Ambassador Kira ran through the corridors. Her blue skin was pale with fear. She had never heard the emergency alarm this loud before. Around her, beings from 100 different worlds rushed in panic. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and many looked nothing like the humans from the old records. But today they all shared the same expression of terror. Kira burst through the doors of the council chamber. The room was massive, with floating seats arranged in circles that went up to the ceiling. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy sat in those seats, but many were empty now. Too many worlds had already fallen. The Etherian Empire is gone, announced Commander June from his position at the center podium. His voice echoed through the chamber, but it shook with fear. Their home star system was consumed 3 hours ago. Gasps filled the room. The Etherians had been the most powerful psychic race in the galaxy. Their mental powers could move planets and read thoughts across star systems. If they could not stop the Void Devourers, what hope did anyone else have? How many ships did they have? Asked Representative Min from the floating seats above. 12,000 battle cruisers, June replied. The Devourers adapted to their psychic shields in 17 minutes. Then they ate the entire fleet. Silence fell over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Kira looked around and saw the same hopeless expression on every face. Some beings were crying. Others were praying to their gods. Ancient Keeper Taz stood up slowly from his special chair. He was older than most stars, and his gray skin looked like old stone. When he spoke, everyone listened. The Machina Collective fell yesterday. Their robot armies lasted only 6 hours. Even the energy beings called Celestials have run away to other dimensions. Then we are all going to die, whispered someone from the back. Taz raised his forearms. The Devourers consume everything. Matter, energy, even time itself. They turn entire galaxies into nothing. Our weapons cannot hurt them. Our shields cannot stop them. In 10 days, maybe less, they will reach the core worlds where billions live. Kira stood up from her seat. There must be something we can do. Some weapon we have not tried. Some technology we have not used. We have tried everything, said Commander June. Nuclear weapons, plasma cannons, reality bombs, dimensional traps. Nothing works. The Devourers just eat it all and grow stronger. The chamber fell quiet again. Outside the great windows, Kira could see distant stars flickering and going dark. Each dying light meant another world consumed, another billion lives ended. Wait, Tess said suddenly. His ancient eyes grew wide. There is one option. One species that might be able to help us. Hope sparked in the room like a small flame. Who? Asked Min eagerly. What species has weapons strong enough to fight the Devourers? Taz moved to the main computer and typed in a code that made the machine beep in warning. Classification level, absolute secret. Council authorization required. Give it, commanded Kira. We are about to die anyway. The computer screen lit up with an image of a small blue and green planet. Around it floated red warning signals and barrier fields. This is Earth, Tess said quietly. Home to a species called humans. Many beings in the chamber had never heard of humans. They looked at the small planet with confusion. They look weak, said Representative Sun, studying the human images that appeared on screen. No claws, no natural armor, no psychic powers. How can they help us? Taz's expression grew dark. The old records are very clear. Humans are the most dangerous species that ever lived. They are so dangerous that the gods themselves ran away rather than face them. Gods do not run from anyone, protested Commander June. These gods did, Taz replied. Listen to this. He activated an old recording. A voice spoke in the ancient language and the computer translated, "We, the old ones who shaped galaxies, declare that the human species must be contained. They do not follow the laws of physics. They do not accept that anything is impossible. Reality bends around their will. We have seen the future, and if humans are allowed to spread across the stars, they will change everything. The very nature of existence will shift. We go now to higher dimensions where they cannot follow. May the younger gods have mercy on the universe." The chamber was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. That is why Earth is surrounded by warning barriers, Taz continued. That is why no ship has been allowed near their solar system for 1,000 years. The Galactic Council feared that contact with humans would be more dangerous than any war. But now we need them, Kira said slowly. Yes. The question is, are we brave enough to wake up the species that made gods run away in fear? Commander June looked around the chamber. What choice do we have? Death by void devourers or risk contact with humans. The humans do not even know we exist, added Min. How do we contact them? Tess smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Oh, they know. The reports say humans always know. They have been watching us for decades. Waiting. The question is not how to contact them. The question is, when we do, will we survive what comes next? The vote was called. One by one the representatives chose. Fear of the unknown humans or certain death from the devourers. The choice was clear even if it terrified them all. Captain Day piloted his stealth ship through the dark space around Earth's solar system. His hands shook on the controls. He had never been this scared in his 30 years of space travel. Captain, called his sensor operator Lee from behind him. The warning barriers are getting stronger. My equipment is showing danger signals I have never seen before. Keep going, Day ordered. The council gave us no choice. The ship moved past old space mines and energy fields that had kept everyone away from Earth for centuries. These barriers had been built by the ancient races to keep humans locked on their home planet. But now those same races were extinct or hiding. Sir, I am reading something strange, Lee said, his voice worried. There are ships out here. Lots of them. Impossible, Day replied. Humans are supposed to be primitive. They barely learned to split atoms according to our records. Captain, you need to see this. Day turned around and looked at Lee's screen. His blood went cold. The display showed hundreds of ships floating in Earth's outer system. These were not the simple metal rockets humans should have. These ships gleamed with silver light and moved in patterns that hurt his eyes to watch. They are scanning us, reported his communications officer Park. But this technology, I do not understand how it works. They are reading our quantum signatures. That should be impossible for humans. Suddenly the space in front of them twisted like water. Reality bent and folded, and a ship appeared right next to them. It had not been hiding. It had not traveled through normal space. It had simply stepped out of nothing. Unknown vessel, came a calm voice over their radio. This is Admiral Bow of Earth's Hidden Fleet. We have been expecting you for 3 weeks. Permission to come aboard your ship? Day's crew stared at him with wide eyes. How could humans know they were coming? How did they have technology that could predict the future? How do you know we are here? Day asked into his microphone. We have been watching your galaxy for a long time, the human replied. We saw the council meeting. We know about the void devourers. We know you need help. That is impossible. Our communications are encrypted and sent through quantum channels. The human woman laughed. It was not a mean laugh, but it made Day feel very small. Captain, you are still thinking about this the wrong way. Nothing is impossible if you try hard enough. Before Day could respond, his ship's airlock opened on its own. The human woman walked through wearing a simple blue uniform. She was smaller than most aliens with black hair and dark eyes. But when she looked at them, Day felt like she could see right through him. I am Admiral Bow, she said, sitting down in a chair that had not been there a moment before. You can call me Bow. And you are Captain Day, age 42, from the 4th planet of the Altair system. You have a wife named Sue and 2 children. How do you know that? Day asked, backing away. Bow smiled. We know a lot of things. The question is, are you ready to learn why the old gods were smart to run away from us? She touched a device on her wrist, and the walls of Day's ship became transparent. Outside he could see Earth floating like a blue jewel. But around it were things that made no sense. Space stations that looked like they were made of light. Ships that existed in several dimensions at once. Defensive platforms that hummed with the power of captured black holes. This is impossible, whispered Lee. Our best scientists say this technology cannot exist. Your scientists are wrong, Bow replied gently. They think there are rules that cannot be broken. Laws of physics that must be obeyed. We learned a long time ago that rules are just suggestions. Park pointed at the screen showing Earth's fleet. How many ships do you have? Enough, Bow answered. But ships are not how we solve problems. We solve problems by refusing to accept that they cannot be solved. She stood up and walked to the window. The void devourers have consumed half your galaxy. Your best warriors, your smartest scientists, your most powerful weapons all failed. Do you want to know why? Why? They asked. Because everyone tried to fight them. Fighting entropy is like fighting gravity. You will lose every time. Bow turned back to them. But understanding them? Talking to them? Finding out what they really want? That might work. You want to talk to the devourers? Lee asked in shock. We want to do more than talk, Bow said. We want to help them. The devourers are not evil, Captain. They are just broken. And humans are very good at fixing broken things. She moved toward the airlock. Tell your council we accept their request for help. But we do this our way. No weapons, no fighting, no hiding. We go straight to the devourers and have a conversation. That is suicide, Day protested. Bo paused at the doorway and looked back at him. Her eyes held something that made him shiver. It was not anger or fear. It was absolute certainty. Captain, in the past century humans have split atoms, bent spacetime, created artificial black holes, and taught computers to think. We have made friends with our own mistakes and turned disasters into victories. The impossible is just another word for something we have not figured out yet. She stepped through the airlock back to her ship. Oh, and Captain? Tell the council not to worry. This will all be over soon. As her ship vanished back into folded space, Day sat in his chair and tried to stop his hands from shaking. Dr. Wan stood in front of a giant screen showing the dark areas where the Void Devourers had eaten entire star systems. Behind him, alien representatives from across the galaxy watched through video links. Their faces showed terror and confusion. Your plan makes no sense, Ambassador Kira said through the communication device. Every fleet that has entered those dead zones has been consumed. Why do you think you will be different? Dr. Wan adjusted his glasses and smiled. Because we are not going there to fight. We are going there to understand. You cannot reason with forces of destruction, protested Ancient Keeper Taz. The Devourers have no mind to speak with. They are entropy itself. Admiral Bo stepped forward. She wore a simple uniform, but the aliens could see strange technology woven into the fabric. The uniform seemed to shift and change like it existed in more than 3 dimensions. That is where you are wrong, Bo said calmly. Everything has a reason for existing. Everything has a purpose. The Devourers are not random destruction. They are something else, something we need to discover. Commander Kim looked up from his control station. Admiral, the fleet is ready. 100 ships, all equipped with our newest technology. Through the windows, the alien observers could see the human fleet preparing to leave. The ships looked impossible. They were smooth and silver, but they seemed to bend light around themselves. Some ships appeared to be bigger on the inside than the outside. Others flickered in and out of reality like they could not decide if they wanted to exist. How do your ships work? Asked Representative Min through the video link. Our scientists studied the images you sent. Those engines should collapse into black holes. Those shields violate the laws of physics. Dr. Wan chuckled. Laws of physics are more like guidelines. If you believe something is impossible, then it becomes impossible for you. But if you believe hard enough that something should work, reality will find a way to make it work. That is not how the universe operates, Min protested. It is how the universe operates for humans, Bo replied. We learned long ago that reality is much more flexible than most species think. Captain Yun called out from the navigation station. Admiral, we have calculated the safest route to the consumed zones. We can avoid the worst areas and approach slowly. No, Bo said firmly. We go straight through the middle. The most dangerous path. The alien representatives gasped. Even her own crew looked surprised. Admiral, Commander Kim said carefully, that route will take us through 3 systems that were consumed just days ago. The devourer activity there is at maximum levels. Perfect, Bo smiled. If we are going to talk to them, we should go where they are strongest. Dr. Wan pulled up a holographic display of their route. It showed a direct line through the heart of the consumed territories. The devourers will detect us immediately. They will surround our fleet within hours. Good, Bo nodded. Hard to have a conversation if they are not paying attention to us. Lieutenant Hay spoke up from her station. Admiral, the alien fleets are taking defensive positions around the core worlds. They want to know if they should prepare for battle. Tell them to prepare for something much more interesting than battle, Bo said. Tell them to prepare for first contact with cosmic forces that have been alone for millions of years. The human fleet began to move. As they traveled toward the consumed zones, something strange happened. The ships did not just fly through space. They seemed to convince space itself to help them move faster. How are we traveling at this speed? Asked Captain Yun, looking at his instruments in confusion. We are going faster than light, but we are not using any known faster-than-light technology. We are not breaking the speed of light, Dr. Wan explained. We are just asking spacetime nicely if it would mind getting out of our way. Through the communication link, the aliens watched in amazement as the human ships seemed to slip between dimensions. Reality twisted around them like water flowing around stones. This should be impossible, whispered Ambassador Kira. Admiral, Lieutenant Hay reported, we are entering the first consumed zone. All other species ships that came here were destroyed within minutes. We are not other species, Bo said simply. The screens showed the space around them changing. Stars were gone, replaced by empty darkness that hurt to look at. Matter itself had been unwoven, leaving gaps in reality. But the human ships continued forward without slowing down. Their shields flickered with impossible colors, and their hulls remained solid even as the fabric of space-time became unstable around them. The Devourers are detecting us, Commander Kim announced. They are curious about us. Curious? Dr. Wan asked. Not aggressive? No, sir. The readings are unlike anything in our records. They seem confused by our presence. Bo smiled broadly. Excellent. Confusion is the first step toward conversation. Captain Yun looked at his sensors with wonder. Admiral, something is happening. The consumed zones around us are stabilizing. The Devourers are not trying to destroy us. They are trying to understand us. Then it is working, Bo said. Dr. Wan, are you ready for the most important conversation in galactic history? Dr. Wan cracked his knuckles and grinned. I have been practicing my whole life for this moment. Let us go make friends with the forces of entropy. The human fleet sailed deeper into the consumed territories, carrying with them something the galaxy had never seen before. The absolute certainty that every problem has a solution, no matter how impossible it might seem. Deep in the consumed sectors of space, where matter itself had been unraveled and stars had been eaten, Dr. Wan sat at a small table drinking tea. Across from him sat something that should not exist in normal reality. The Void Devourer took many shapes at once. Sometimes it looked like a cloud of dark energy. Sometimes it appeared as geometric patterns that hurt to look at. Sometimes it seemed like a hole in the universe itself. But right now it was trying to look like something Dr. Wan could understand. You are different, the entity spoke without using sound. Its voice came directly into the minds of everyone on the human ship. Your species does not run. Your species does not attack. Why? Dr. Wan sipped his tea calmly. Around him, a small bubble of normal space-time existed inside the Devourer's territory. Admiral Bo stood nearby, somehow keeping their little area stable with technology that should not work. Running away does not solve problems, Dr. Wan replied. Fighting you would be like fighting gravity. Pointless. But understanding you? That might help everyone. The Devourer shifted forms, becoming more solid. It now looked almost like a person made of stars and darkness. Understanding. It has been so long since anyone tried to understand us. Captain Yun watched from the ship's bridge as more Devourers arrived. Dozens of them surrounded the human fleet, but they were not attacking. They were watching with something that looked like curiosity. Admiral, Yun called out, the entire local group of Devourers is here. But they are just observing us. Good, Bo replied without taking her eyes off the entity across from Dr. Wan. Let them watch. This is probably the first interesting thing that has happened to them in millions of years. The Devourer across from Dr. Wan leaned forward. You want to understand us? Then look. Suddenly, images filled everyone's minds. They saw the universe when it was young, when the first galaxies were forming. They saw beautiful cosmic gardens where matter and energy danced together in perfect harmony. We were gardeners then, the Devourer explained. We helped new worlds grow. We guided the birth of stars. We were part of creation itself. What happened? Dr. Wan asked gently. The images changed. Now they showed the universe growing older. Civilizations became comfortable and stopped growing. Star formation slowed down. Everything became safe and predictable and boring. The universe began to sleep, the Devourer continued. Nothing new was happening. Nothing was changing. Everything became stagnant. So we were called to wake it up. Called by whom? Admiral Bo asked. By the universe itself. We became its immune system. When things stopped growing, we would consume them to make room for new growth. But the entity's form flickered with what might have been pain. Something went wrong. The images showed the Devourers working for eons, consuming dead civilizations and making space for new ones. But slowly, over millions of years, they began to forget the creation part. They only remembered the consumption. We forgot how to stop, the Devourer whispered. We forgot how to build. We only knew how to tear down. And then we became lost in our own purpose. Lieutenant Hay looked up from her communication station. Sir, I am receiving similar messages from all the other Devourers. They are all telling the same story. Dr. Wan nodded slowly. You were not evil. You were trying to help the universe stay healthy. But you got stuck in only doing half your job. Yes, the Devourer replied, and now its form looked almost human. For so long we have consumed and consumed, hoping that eventually we would remember how to create. But the memory never came back. That is because you have been alone, Bo said firmly. No one can remember how to be creative when they are isolated. Creation requires interaction. It requires other perspectives. The entity looked at her with eyes made of collapsed stars. Other perspectives? Look at us, Dr. Wan said, gesturing to his crew. Humans work together to solve problems. We share ideas. We argue and discuss and try new things. Creation is not something you do alone. Captain Yun called out from his station. Admiral, something is happening. The consumed areas around us are beginning to show signs of activity. Through the ship's windows they could see something amazing. In the dead zones where the Devourers had consumed everything, tiny specks of light were beginning to appear. New matter was forming out of nothing. You are remembering, Dr. Wan said with excitement. Just by talking to us, by interacting with other beings, you are remembering how to create. The Devourer looked at its hands as they began to glow with creative energy instead of destructive force. We had forgotten that creation requires cooperation. We tried to do everything ourselves. That never works, Bo said with a smile. Trust me, humans have tried. The best solutions always come from working together. More Devourers began appearing around the ship, but now they looked different. They were brighter, more stable. Some were already experimenting with creating small objects instead of destroying them. We want to learn, the original Devourer said. Will you teach us how to remember what we forgot? Dr. Wan stood up and extended his hand. We will teach each other. Humans are good at stubborn problem solving. But you understand cosmic forces in ways we never could. Together we can probably figure out how to fix this whole mess. The Devourer reached out and carefully touched Dr. Wan's hand. Where they connected, reality sparkled with new possibilities. What do we call ourselves now? The entity asked. We are no longer void devourers. Bo grinned. How about renewal shepherds? You can help the universe grow again. Around them, the consumed zones began to bloom with new life as ancient cosmic gardeners remembered their true purpose. 6 months after the first contact with the void devourers, Ambassador Kira stood on the observation deck of her ship and watched something that should have been impossible. Below her, massive entities that had once consumed entire star systems were now working alongside human engineers to rebuild worlds. The beings now called themselves renewal shepherds, and they were creating wonders beyond imagination. Where dead solar systems had once floated in empty space, new stars were being born. But these were not ordinary stars. They burned with colors that did not exist in nature and gave off energy that helped life grow faster. Ambassador, her assistant called out, Dr. J wants to speak with you. Kira turned away from the window and activated her communication device. Dr. J appeared on the screen, floating in space next to a renewal shepherd that looked like a living galaxy. The human wore only a simple space suit, but somehow he was alive in the vacuum of space talking to a cosmic entity as if they were old friends. Kira, you have to see this, Dr. J said excitedly. Shepherd Zorn here just figured out how to grow planets that are already suitable for life. No waiting billions of years for evolution. These worlds come with oceans, atmospheres, and even basic plant life already in place. The renewal shepherd spoke in a voice like distant thunder. The human Dr. J showed me that patience is good, but efficiency is better. Why wait for life to develop slowly when we can create it ready to flourish? Kira shook her head in amazement. 6 months ago these beings were destroying everything in their path. Now they are creating paradise worlds in days. That is not even the best part, Dr. J grinned. Tell her about the star project, Zorn. The renewal shepherd's form shifted to show pride. Admiral Ney suggested we create stars that burn backward through time. These stars will grow brighter as they age instead of dimmer. Solar systems around them will have billions of years more life than normal systems. Is that even possible? Kira asked. We thought it was not, Zorn replied. But the humans taught us their most important lesson. Impossible is just a word for things we have not figured out yet. Kira ended the call and walked back to the window. In the distance she could see Earth's fleet working with dozens of renewal shepherds. The human ships looked tiny next to the cosmic entities, but somehow the humans were clearly in charge of the projects. She activated her personal recording device to make her final report to the Galactic Council. This is Ambassador Kira, filing the final report on the Human Integration Project, she began. 6 months ago we faced extinction from the Void Devourers. Today, former Devourer territories are becoming the most beautiful and life-rich areas of the galaxy. Through her window, she watched as Commander Sue directed a team of renewal shepherds in creating what looked like a solar system made entirely of crystal. The planets sparkled like jewels and would apparently never lose their energy. The humans did not save us through superior weapons or better shields, Kira continued. They saved us by doing what humans do best, refusing to accept that any problem cannot be solved. They took cosmic forces of destruction and convinced them to become cosmic forces of creation instead. Her communication device chimed. Captain Lee was calling from his ship near a restoration project. Ambassador, you need to see this, Lee said. His face showed wonder and a little bit of fear. The humans are teaching the shepherds how to restore time itself. What does that mean? Kira asked. They are bringing back civilizations that were consumed. Not copies, but the actual people and worlds, pulled back from destruction by reversing the consumption process. Kira felt her knees grow weak. That violates every law of physics we know. I mentioned that to Dr. May, Lee replied. She just laughed and said physics was more flexible than most people realized. Then she showed the shepherds how to knit reality back together like it was a torn piece of cloth. The call ended and Kira continued her report. The quarantine around Earth has been lifted. Not because humans are less dangerous, but because we finally understand what makes them truly terrifying. It is not their technology or their weapons. It is their absolute certainty that every problem has a solution. She paused her recording and thought about what she had witnessed. Humans taking tea breaks with entities older than galaxies. Human children playing games that involved reshaping space-time. Human philosophers having arguments with the fundamental forces of entropy itself. The old gods who fled to higher dimensions were wise to be afraid, she continued. But not for the reasons we thought. They were not afraid of human violence or human ambition. They were afraid of human optimism. They were afraid of a species that looks at the heat death of the universe and says, we can probably fix that. In the distance, she saw Admiral Jin's flagship approaching a newly created star system. The ship was followed by a parade of renewal shepherds, all eager to learn the next impossible thing humans would teach them. As I complete this report, Kira said, Dr. One has announced his next project. He wants to solve the problem of entropy itself. He believes the universe should not have to die of heat death. The renewal shepherds are very excited to help him. She turned off the recording device and smiled. The old gods were probably watching from their higher dimensions, and she suspected they were getting ready to come home. With humans in charge of keeping reality interesting, the universe was about to become a very different place. In his laboratory, Dr. One looked up at the stars being reborn and cracked his knuckles. Tomorrow he would start working on the entropy problem. After all, how hard could it really be?